All right, I think we're good to start, Jack.
Hell yeah, that
You want
sounds
to get
good.
us going?
Yeah, definitely. So what's up, guys? Welcome everybody. Thanks for popping out to PreHacks 2022. Um, we're just trying to get you guys a little more familiarized with hackathons before Pickaxe actually kicks off on Friday. Hit you guys up with a couple workshops, just a couple bonding sessions. Just familiarizing you to it. Helping everybody get a little more comfortable. So yeah, this is PreHacks presented by us from Pickaxe.
Hey guys, my name is Edward. Thank you, Jack, for getting us started. I'm a junior in information science technology. I'm the marketing lead for Pickaxe. You guys have probably gotten many emails from me over the past couple of weeks. So I apologize if you have like an inbox of like 5,000 messages. It's my fault, but I'm happy that you're all here. Thanks for popping out to PreHacks. And I guess a fun thing about me, fun fact, uh, I did a basketball summer camp in China.
And what's up, guys? I'm Jack. I'm a junior here at S&T. I'm in CS. It's my photo there. That's me and my dog sitting on our back porch. So, little fun fact about me: never been to China. Not very good at basketball, but my favorite candle scent is oatmeal cookies. So, do with that what you will.
Oatmeal's pretty good, not gonna lie. So can't hate.
Best cookie flavor too. Or maybe tied with chocolate chip, but I feel like it's up there. It
Not
competes.
not with raisin though, right?
I love oatmeal raisin, man. Are you? Oh my god, that's probably your whole personality, isn't it? You don't
How
like raisins.
how did
One
I
of
get
those
stuck with you
guys.
for opening ceremony?
It's just a grape, bro. Just go eat a grape. It's the same thing. All right, come on. We'll have this conversation later.
All right. But yeah, I'm gonna just go through our agenda real quick, just for opening ceremony for pre-hacks. We're gonna talk about hackathon, what it is, just like rehashing that, and then we'll discuss pre-hacks, what it's for, just like what things are gonna look like for today, and then we have pre-hacks today, opening ceremony and an intro to programming. And then on tomorrow, we'll have a couple of other workshops as well. So just like talking about the event logistics, stuff concerning that, so that everyone's aware and in the know of what we have going on.
Yeah. So now, just to kind of give you guys an idea of who we are, what we do. So for those of you that are really new to the scene, hackathon is basically just a competition over a set amount of time. For pickaxe, it's just this upcoming weekend. 48 hours to code whatever you want under a set theme. This year, ours is well-being, with an emphasis on three tracks. There's physical, mental, and financial well-being. So whatever assignment you make, whatever project you design, has to be submitted to one of those tracks. But yeah, over the weekend, you just are kind of coding on that the entire time, working on whatever you want to do. And while that's going on, there's workshops, tech talks from companies, people that know a lot more than we do that are coming to the event to help you learn. Um, for those at S&T, there's a little food. So sorry for you guys that are remote, but we can send you photos of the pizza we get if you'd like. Games, chances to win prizes, a bunch of stuff like that. So it's more than just coding. It's also about learning, having fun, meeting other students around our age. Just stuff like that. Just having a good time, learning and coding. So yeah. But with pre-hacks, our point of this is we know that hackathons, regardless of what is said about them, can be a little intimidating. Online you see a lot of people at these hackathons that like big companies like Google, Facebook, the ones they put on. A lot of the stuff is like, oh my god, that looks crazy to me. Like some of the stuff they build is uh, really impressive. But while you can certainly make that in a time span, that's totally not even expected. It's more about just coming together, putting your best foot forward, and we're just trying to kind of open that door to show you that hey, these are for everybody. You don't have to be a pro programmer to a pro programmer. You don't have to be really good at coding to come out and do this stuff. We just want everybody to come out and have a good time doing it. So yeah, that's what the goal of PreHacks here is.
So today currently in opening ceremony, and right after we'll have an introduction to programming by our dev lead Colton, and he'll go over like choosing the right programming language for you, the correct environment, um, and as well as tips for debugging and troubleshooting when you run into issues, as with programming you naturally will. Just like learning how to deal with that, and um, just some skills and some resources as well, just to like help with that. So that'll be directly after this, and then Jack will talk about some of the workshops we got going on tomorrow.
Yeah, so like I said, make sure you tune into that one right after this. But tomorrow, got another couple good talks lined up for you guys. First, an introduction to Git, also from our dev lead Colton. I've been there where I've been sharing code over Discord, just copying and pasting hundreds of lines, and that's kind of a pain. We want to make sure you guys can avoid that. So this will be just a quick little talk showing you guys how Git works if you're unsure, just some tips on how to use it, just to make sure you can collaborate with your teammates over the weekends a little bit more efficiently and just take the burden off you there. Then right after that at 6, we're going to have a fireside chat. Our handsome team director, BRAT, and I will just be in the session speech of Hoppenbar, just answering any questions that you have, talking about general hackathon tips we picked up over the years, designing them and participating in them, and just kind of chatting. So come by, say hello, ask any questions you have. And then finally, after that, at 6:30, really excited about this one. Trying to give you guys a chance to hone your drawing skills a little bit before the Microsoft or the Bob Ross Paint Night. So come out, play Scribblio with us, and meet some of the other hackers that are going to be there this weekend. So that'll be a great chance for it. But yeah, that's Thursday. So back to Eddie to kind of talk a little bit about PreHacks itself on Friday.
Yeah, so PreHacks kicking off this Friday. Just like some simple like logistics for day of. Opening ceremony will begin same time as now at 5:30, and we'll just like intro the day, what's going to be happening during the weekend, and directly after opening ceremony, which it'll probably last like right around an hour, probably a little less. Um, Packing will begin, and we'll also have team matching available. Any last minute team matching, no worries if you don't have a team yet. We'll get you taken care of. We'll help you with that, and we'll also have food provided directly after for Missouri S&T students and the CS building in room 121. Some of this information we'll go over again on Friday, but just like giving you a general idea. And later that night as well, we'll have sponsor activities for engagement. You'll be able to talk with company representatives, and between all the hacking and developing, we'll have some games to keep you all having fun all night.
Yeah, that's going to be Friday, and we're super excited for the weekend. So, yeah. So I think Colton is ready for the workshop. Thanks for listening to the opening ceremony, guys. Excited to see how you enjoy PreHacks, and excited to see you a little more throughout the week. So, yeah, enjoy Colton's introduction to programming talk.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Colton Jacobson. I will be doing our introduction to programming at the hackathon. So welcome, everyone. I am glad to see that we have a good turnout today, and let's get into it. So welcome to PreHacks. Here's a little bit about me. I am a junior in computer science here at Missouri S&T. I'm the development team lead for PreHacks, as they explained earlier. And my favorite fun fact is that Pokemon Yellow, Doom, and Printf are all Turing complete. If you have more questions about that, feel free to ask. There's a big list of things that are Turing complete, and I think it's pretty dang interesting. So a little about the hackathon. Our hackathon, so it's a 36-hour hackathon, and you're making a project from scratch. So besides libraries, frameworks that you're going to be pulling in for your project here, it's all done from scratch. And of course, any hardware that you bring with you or that you use, you can also have. But as far as code goes, it's going to be basically all from scratch. The theme is wellness, so we have our 3 categories: physical, mental, and financial. And hacks generally are hardware software based. That's just basically how the hackathon goes. That's what we always tend to see, and so you're always going to be doing some form of programming. And again, the point of the hackathon is to learn. We are trying to promote a culture and an environment of learning for everyone. And so this is not about being the best necessarily. Everyone's here to compete, and you could get better through competition. But I don't want anyone to feel like they know too little about programming, because that's what we're all here to do, is to learn. So everyone's pretty familiar with how programming goes, and just as a little bit of an example for why this talk exists. Going back, I'll tell you a story about myself when I was in high school. Going back to sophomore year of high school, I remember I was on a team with two other guys, and we were trying to make a mobile app for a mobile app competition. This is FBLA, if anyone ever did that in high school, right? But we're trying to make a mobile app, and for whatever reason, we decided to choose JavaScript as our main avenue of programming. And this is before something like things like React Native came out. So we decided to make a mobile app in JavaScript. Not the greatest choice of our life, but we spent like 3 months working on that. And 2 weeks left to go, to our due date, we realized that JavaScript wasn't going to cut it. And about like a 12-pack of Mountain Dew later, and several sleepless nights, we ended up completely flipping it into Android Studio, into like an Android app through Android Studio, because we ended up realizing that it was really hard to get a JavaScript app packaged as a mobile app at that time. So it was around 2017. And so knowing which programming languages to pick correctly, and knowing which environments to use, knowing all the tools you need is pretty essential to getting a good start at the hackathon. So when you're choosing a language, first and foremost, you need to think about what project you want to make, because languages are used for different things. So if you're making like a mobile app, a computer game, you want to make a website, maybe you want to make a simple command line program like a choose your own adventure, or even if you're looking on the hardware hack side of things, you're doing Arduino or Raspberry Pi projects. Another thing is scope, or the size of the project. You want to figure out how big this project is actually going to be, what it's going to require. For example, if you're just doing a simple text game, maybe you only need C++, and maybe you don't even need many libraries. But if you're doing a very complex game with graphics and motion, then maybe perhaps you're going to want to go with something like Pygame, and you're going to need to also figure out how you're going to make your graphics as well. So that's also going to be tools to consider. And then with websites, are you doing a 2 or a 3-tier architecture? So are you going to want a database? Do you want something that like goes in between your database and your website that does better data transfer and control? A lot of things to consider. And then of course, relevant experience, because a hackathon's not a lot of time. So if you have a lot of experience in a language, it may be a good idea to consider going, hey, do I have any similar languages that can work? Or this language, does this work for my project? Because trying to minimize the amount of work you have to do to produce a ready project is going to help your life a lot over the course of the hackathon, and it'll keep things a little more stress-free. So for general purpose programming languages, we have C++, Python, Java, and C#. And there's a few others, but these are the main ones that you're going to want to look at. These will do just about everything under the sun. C++ is great for little command line apps, as well as Python, although Python has a lot more flexibility for things like game design and web development, which we'll look at in a second. You have Java, which also does it's going out of phase a little bit for web development, but it's still great for just your general object-oriented programming. If you want to make a simple desktop app or command line app, there's some libraries you can use. And then C#, which is a great up-and-coming really flexible language that you can use for desktop app development, website development, maybe mobile app development now. But yeah, those are your great general use programming languages. For web development, so we have a few: Ruby, PHP, JavaScript. Those are all just your general use programming languages for on the web development side. Of course, you're going to pair these up with different things. Like Ruby, you pair with on Rails, which is your database, your backend side. JavaScript, you're going to pair with you'll pair with different libraries, but you also pair with like HTML, CSS. You also have Python and C#, which do work for web development. They're just a little different in how you approach things. These have a much more built a much more like processed avenue for going through. Your Python and your C# are going to be a little bit different. And then we have some frameworks you can use, which I highly recommend using a web framework if you've never tried it out for making a website, because it makes your life so much easier. So React is a great one. Flutter, Vue, Angular, all of these are good options. I personally promote React just because that's what we use here at PreHacks, but I've heard Flutter is also a great resource for creating a website. And then finally, mobile app development. So we have Java. So Java, again, we've seen some languages pop up here and then, because a lot of these are multi-purpose. Java, Kotlin, which is the new and improved Java, very interesting for Android development, and then Swift and Objective-C, which are iOS development. And then we have a couple different frameworks here that don't necessarily use these languages. So like React Native uses React for mobile app. Flutter, which also does mobile app development, Xamarin, which is a cross-platform that you can use. I believe you can use a variety of different languages to cross-platform, so iOS or Android. So yeah, we'll keep pushing on from here. So choosing IDE. So you picked your language, you need somewhere to program in. Good things to consider in general are what you're going to be using it for. Building a website, building a general use program is you can use almost any IDE for. But if you want to make a mobile app, you want to consider something like Xamarin or maybe Android Studio, because they have some built-in tools that allow you to like they have a built-in emulator. You can test your app right then and there. Makes it easier, especially if you don't have the particular like phone or setup build OS that you need to run something. Then like websites, if you're doing like something on an Arduino, you're going to need a real specific setup here. You're going to want to, there's a couple different like apps you can download that I don't remember them off the top of my head, but there's a couple different like environments you can develop that make it really easy to push your code and things, because I don't think you particularly want to use VS Code for something like that, because it's not going to have a lot of the features that you want. And then in addition to that, some other tools to think about is, do you want a debugger? Do you want a code formatter? Do you want autocomplete? Do you want color coding? Are there any things that you're like used to having? Because depending on which IDE you pick, like whether it's bare bones or whether it's something full blown like Visual Studio, you're going to get different things that can make your life easier or harder. And then, yeah, again, if you have a particular preference on what you're using or what you're used to using, it's always not a bad idea to stick with that. So if you already use Visual Studio, maybe just stick with it. Maybe you want to try something new. But definitely sticking to comfort picks sometimes really helps if you already understand what you're working with. And so, yeah, so here's some extra IDs. So we have Visual Studio Code. This is my number one use one. It's lightweight. It's got a lot of options. It's got a lot of good built-in features. It's a solid IDE, and it's pretty easy to use. And you can download any sort of package you want depending on your language. We have Visual Studio, which is not Visual Studio Code. It's the more robust version of VS Code, but downside, it's a lot bigger. It takes a lot more to run it. And so if you're talking computer specs wise, you don't want to be using a computer with like a low amount of RAM, low processing power for this bad boy, because that will take up a lot of space on your computer. Then we have like Atom, Sublime, Notepad++. These are more on the side of text editors, so they're not going to come with like VS Code and Visual Studio come with like debuggers, or at least you can install a debugger at the very least, things like that. Other options, code formatting, but these won't necessarily right off the bat. You'll have some of these more lightweight ones. You're just going to be editing text. So for small changes, these may be great, but if you're looking to make a full-blown project, you might want something that has a little more support. And then for specific app development, so again, Android or iPhone app development, any of these are a great choice because they include like a way to emulate. They include like ways to look at your XML structure and see how the app actually looks before you even run it. And then if anyone's familiar with JetBrains has a ton of different IDEs. There's also Eclipse IDEs, which I don't have on there, but JetBrains, Eclipse is great for Java. JetBrains has like an IDE for every single language you could basically think of under the sun. And again, for those who aren't familiar, IDE means Integrated Development Environment. It's just where you're going to be programming. So yeah. So for this hackathon, your best friend is going to be Google. I guarantee it, unless you guys are already experts in everything, in which case, why bother coming here? Again, the point is to learn and try new things. Try new things while you're at it. If you're already good at something, maybe it's time to branch out. But being able to look, like, you're going to need to search things. You're going to need to look up solutions to problems you're having, figure out what your resources are, what you need to do on your projects. So always be ready to do some searching. So here's some links. So when you're learning a language, we got a few links here: W3 Schools, Free Code Camp, and MIT OpenCourseWare. All great options for learning a new programming language. If you're thinking about doing a particular language, you're thinking, oh well, my project's going to fit in this category, but I don't really know a language. Like, I'm doing web development, but I've only done C++ so far. Like, okay, maybe I need to learn some JavaScript or something. These are all great resources, as well as just YouTube tutorials, because often you can go like, hey, how do I make maybe like a table? Say you want to make a table in React. Like, how do I make like a searchable, scrollable table in React? Look it up on YouTube. You'll probably find the solution. And if you haven't done that yet, YouTube's a wonderful thing. But also, all of these other ones are great resources. And then as far as practicing, so once you've started to learn the language, for example, you have like LeetCode, websites like LeetCode that give you simple problems, and you can use any language you want to solve the problem, and it gives you like a runtime and things like that. So if you want to practice like syntax with a language, LeetCode's a great choice. Also, just doing Hello World programs, tutorials, and as well as your own miniature projects. Being kind of being like your own entrepreneur, your own motivator here, and thinking about projects you would like to build is a great way to get introed into a programming language. So now that once you get into the hackathon, obviously you're gonna have more than your fair share of errors. If you don't, then that's totally unfair. So once you start hitting those errors, here's some things that you can do to help save yourself. So one is print statements. Almost every programming language has some sort of console print statement or just print statement in general that'll allow you to print information to a screen where you can see it. These are a great way to just like show what's running. So if you put these throughout your program and you like maybe number them or something based on line number, and then you can see whenever it breaks, you'll be able to see like slowly narrow down which line it breaks on. You can also use a debugger to step through, step over, step into functions, just step through line by line of code to see where things are breaking. Errorlog is a great resource because it should give you at least a general idea where things are happening, and if not, you can always step through or use print statements to figure out exactly what line is breaking your code. And then first and foremost, start with the first error. One big thing I guess people don't talk about is that you will get a big chunk of errors sometimes when you run code. Starting with the first error is a great way to ensure that you're like properly debugging your code. Because if you start with one of the errors further down, it could be caused by the error above, and so you just need to make sure that you start with the first error and then run it again, see what breaks again, and then go from there. And so once you found where your line is broken, if you know what's broken, maybe it's a missing semicolon, maybe it's incomplete string, maybe I don't know, something weird, but you understand what's happening, fix it. Fix it, run it. If you get stuck run into an error, Stack Overflow and Geeks for Geeks are both great websites to look up these things. Most programmers are familiar with Stack Overflow. And yeah, it's a godsend. It will help you a lot. There are a lot of already solved problems. But yeah, and then basically it's just from there, it's just fix Google, and you keep doing that until your error is solved. So why we code? Programming is a struggle for sure. It's not an easy thing. And honestly, there's a big difference between people who code and people who don't, just because of how it goes and how much you have to struggle just to get simple things done sometimes. Because computers run only a specific way, and code gets really wonky sometimes. Um, you just want to you like there's a big difference between the people who have to struggle through that day in and day out and the people who don't. And it's obvious, like often, like I'd like to think of it like climbing a mountain. You have this big goal and you're going up towards it, and it's a lot of pain up, and then you get to spend 15 minutes at the top happy, and then you have to climb back down and do another mountain. um, so it's a lot of work on both sides just to get a little bit of happiness, which sounds a little sad, but it can be quite rewarding to do a lot of really intense mental work and get that result. Um, and I want to encourage everyone to not give up during this hackathon. Not you're gonna it could get it's gonna get challenging at times. It's gonna be stressful, but don't give up. We're all here to support you, and we're all here to make sure that you do your best. And I hope that you can, if nothing else, learn a lot about whatever you want to learn in coming into this hackathon, and then make it a positive experience for yourself. But yeah, there's a few sources. So thank you everyone for coming to my talk today. If you have any more questions, if you have any questions, any concerns about like this presentation, if you want any of these resources, I think we'll be posting them later, both on the Discord and quite possibly the Hopin as well when the hackathon starts. I, as well as any of the PreHacks team, will be there to help you throughout PreHacks and throughout the hackathon itself, with as many programming and other related questions as we can. So make sure to utilize like the Discord and things like that as a community, that community aspect, to get the help that you can, so that you can do the best you can and hopefully win some cool prizes. Because I think we got some pretty cool prizes. Too bad it's a shame I can't compete. Although I don't know, some people are pretty good here, so that might be an L on my end. But thank you for coming, everyone.
Hey, what's up, Colton?
Jack, BRAT,
Hey boys, how you going? How's it going?
doing pretty good. Just finished up our presentation there.
Yeah, I saw it was really great.
Why do I feel like I've been taught more in that presentation you just gave than my 3 years at S&T?
Honestly, Colton, why aren't you teaching everyone at this point, man? Go join Khan Academy or something.
Yeah. Man, I have had more conversations with people that have taught me more than I've had classes in college. So
Well, real quick to everyone, I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I know you guys already met Colton and Jack. Super great to meet everyone. My name is BRAT. I'm a junior here at Missouri S&T in computer science, and I'm the director of ACM Hacks. So I'm kind of the guy at the top who pretends like I'm in charge and knows what's going on, but really I just take credit for everything and let everyone else do the hard work. I think right now we have some more time left. So if anyone wants to stick around, ask some questions in chat, we're more than happy to answer them. Give people a feel of what's going on for the weekend, give people an idea of how this is all going to go down. So yeah, hit us with it if you'd like. Otherwise, we're just going to sit here and talk about whatever random stuff comes to our mind for the next few minutes.
oh yeah, have you guys ever looked up a list of things that are Turing complete?
Honestly, I totally remember that being mentioned in class, but I don't remember what that means still.
It's a really, honestly, it takes us back to like Markowski theory, CS theory, because I'm pretty sure it's just literally like it's got something to do with like state machines, I want to say, like the infinite tape, like I want to say it's like it's just being able to like, I don't know, I'm reading about it right now, but I do know that Doom is in fact Turing complete, and so is Pokemon Yellow. And printf. There's someone put a really interesting program online, and like with like a kind of like a little research paper about printf being Turing complete.
I'm surprised that Pokemon Yellow's Turing complete, but none of the other Pokemon games. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so this
are blue and red not?
I don't know why Pokemon Yellow specifically was named. I think it was due to our software glitch. You were because it's basically most of these are just glitching the software so you can overwrite to memory. So like that's the same with printf. You're using printf to write to memory, and that's what makes it Turing complete.
Oh, here's a question. What is the most challenging thing in a hackathon? How do you handle it? That's a good question.
I think that depends on the kind of person you are. If you're a really outgoing person who may not have like that innate sense for how to code, the hardest part might be, what kind of project do I make? Or just the question of where do I begin? Because oftentimes, once you get started, it's a little easy to know where to get going after just following a tutorial or putting the pieces together. But just knowing what's that first step can often be kind of hard. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're really good at coding, but you're maybe not that great of a people person, a hard part is how do I reach out and connect with other people? Whether that's asking for help on how to complete a project or do a certain step, or connecting with some of the sponsors and mentors that we have, asking them questions, asking them what their lives are like professionally and personally, connecting with other hackers and just making connections with other students that could be useful down the line, or just making friends in general. So it really depends on what kind of person you are. But that's probably what I'd say. I don't know if Colton and Jack, if you guys had different answers you want to throw out.
For me, from the hackathons I've competed in, I think the hardest thing is staying motivated. It's like it's an entire weekend that you're coding. There's a lot of time there where you're supposed to be working, and while that is part of the fun of it, it's like, oh my God, drink caffeine, drink Red Bull, stay up all night and code. If you're not used to it, it can be difficult. So a good tip I'd give is just try and find other people that are as into it as you are. Nothing can take you out of the moment more than being very into it, having fun, and then your teammates are like, oh, let's go watch TV or let's stop. You just need to find a good group of people, put them around you. And that's just the key to staying motivated, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. Motivation with programming is everything.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, and again, I agree with you. Finding people, I know a fair amount of programmers who don't like to work with people, and it's understandable because working with people on code is a pain. Everyone's got their own way of writing things, and everyone's got their own pace of writing things. So yeah, do it, and also just use some, like, again, we'll be having our GitHub talk tomorrow. Use things like that to make your life easier. Because it really, especially using just some small, simple tools to make things more efficient, make code sharing more efficient, collaboration, a great idea. Because doing a coding project without GitHub is,
It's
I've
challenging.
done it before. It's not fun. It's not efficient. It's not efficient. I have a story about that for tomorrow. It'll be given during our Git talk.
But that was a really good question. Really good question.
Colton, so I'm curious, when you were working at Garmin last summer, were you on a team with other interns, like working on the same stuff?
I wasn't. I think it was partially due to the COVID. So partially due to COVID, we had less interns than expected. We had like 144. They usually have around 250.
Wow. Yeah, that's a cutoff.
Yeah. So like I had like a lot of people had at least a lot of people around me had their own office space area. I was on my own, like, completely obfuscated team. Although, to be fair, it really depends where you get to work as well, because there's a lot of different sectors. So you have like you have like the aerospace airplanes division of Garmin, which is huge, and there's a lot of sub teams. So I had like my own sub team to myself, because there's just branches on branches of sub teams, because making code for airplanes it's a complicated task, and there's a lot of different jobs. Yeah, no, you don't, and that's why there's so many different roles.
Yeah.
But if you go over to like something that's more user interface side, so if you go to watches or something like outdoors and stuff like that, you might find yourself working with other interns. Especially go to Area 51, which is the like name for the place where all the new development happens. Where they do there's like some developers that work together over there. So you might find it. So depending on the size of your team, the size of I don't know are you at Aero? Do you know where you're at?
Oh, I'm in mobile.
You're in mobile. Interesting.
For the watches, yeah.
For the watches. So yeah, so I don't know if you might find yourself working with like one intern. I don't know how COVID guidelines are either, though.
I'm curious, I think this applies to hackers too. I'm just curious, like when you're like thrown into a new code base, right? Or like you're working with, because you had some team members, right? Even if it wasn't interns.
Yeah, I had a mentor who was roughly guiding me through all the code. But that was about it. It was just a mentor who was kind of helping direct me.
Gotcha. So I'm curious, like when you're thrown into like a new environment like that, right, where there's code you might not necessarily have seen before, you didn't write yourself. Did you try and learn all of that code, or did you just kind of try and take bits and pieces, like the most important parts, and then use that in what you wrote?
It was a little bit of both, because I'm not used to like really like high level formatting of my code. Like I do a decent job of organizing it, but not like I wasn't quite expecting how formatted, how like strict guidelines are on how everything needs to look, especially in aviation in particular, because again, like all of that, it's older. Some of it's older code, but again, there's like a comment structure where you put your variables, how you name. There's naming conventions, all of that. And so it's a little both. You really have to look at a lot of the code and just see how everything fits. It's good to just look through like all the files you're gonna have to be dealing with, all the ones you want to emulate, and just see how they're structured and figure out the reasons why they're structured the way they are. That's a big thing. Ask questions about why things are written the way they are, because then that helps a lot when you start making your own. Because you do a little bit of that, and then you do a little bit of like wherever you're actually going to be working, you really dive deep into what you're going to need to be implementing. But yeah, just getting a general understanding of the code base is always a nice thing. Understanding how everything connects together with whatever project you're working on.
We got a really good question in chat here. Guys, is it a disadvantage to not have a team before a hackathon? Either of you guys want to take the hit on that?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot to answer. So I think a lot of it, there's a lot of factors to it. One is definitely your experience coding or working on projects. Well, you're not necessarily at a disadvantage working by yourself. If you're a little more experienced, a lot of times it helps to just kind of get more familiarized with coding in general. People that have a little more experience than you that have been coding for a little longer have just picked up things that you'll learn naturally with time. But, if they're working with you, you'll figure it out sooner just because they're probably talking about it. But if you trust yourself to produce quality work and you're confident in your abilities, I think you're just as good working by yourself, and you'll win more if you do. So that's always an advantage too. What do you think, BRAT?
I'd say, I'd love to have a team. I like the idea of being able to talk to other people and bouncing ideas. But, other people like, Batman works alone sometimes and he does great work. So there's nothing to say that you can't do great work on your own too. I mean, coding, I know for a lot of people, sometimes having to, explain their thought process kind of inhibits their workflow, and being able to just kind of work at your own pace without being, asked all these questions and being asked to explore all these other alternatives. It can be good to kind of follow your own path a bit. So there's definitely, you're not going to be like completely screwed over if you don't have a team. It's not impossible to, or it's definitely possible to win and build a great project by yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Also, just think about what you need. People specialize in certain things. If you're a general if like you're a full stack developer, then you're fine. But if you're building a website and you only know how to write front end, then you're going to need someone who understands other bits and pieces of that if you want to make something full blown. So also scope, So a lot of people can do well in a hackathon with a smaller scope project. But I mean, it's like there's bits and pieces of how well something actually works as opposed to like the idea behind it as well. So if you have a really good idea and it's a small enough scale project, soloing it's honestly not the worst thing in the world. But yeah, scale is definitely something to keep in mind.
But great question. Definitely something that I've thought about entering hackathons before. So.
All right, well, we've had some really awesome questions. Unless anyone else has anything they'd like to ask real quick. As always, the Discord is always totally open. If you have any questions, just go ahead and tag @organizer if you'd like to say anything at all. Oh, it seems like you said something else. I would like to join a team, but I don't know anybody at this hackathon. Well, you're actually in luck. Tomorrow we'll have a bit of a team matching, get to know their hacker session for whoever is participating in PreHacks. But other than that, throughout the entire weekend and even leading up to it, there will be a team matching chat in which you can just kind of reach out, see if anyone has, any ideas, or if anyone has any skills that you might need on your team. List your skills to see if anybody else would like you on their team. But yeah, Jack just dropped the Discord link for anyone who isn't in it yet. But yeah, that's a great opportunity and great place to meet other hackers and find people who you could work with.
Also, I was kind of tuned out there for a second. I don't know if you mentioned it, Bra, but tomorrow at the end of PreHacks, we're going to be having a little game session, bonding session. So it's going to be a great opportunity to meet new people there too. So
awesome. Yeah. So if that's all the questions from everybody, like I was saying before, if you have any questions, feel free to tag @organizer in the Discord. Any of us are always more than happy to hop in and answer a question, or if you'd like to chat or voice chat over any concerns, we're always there for that too. But other than that, thanks everyone for popping out. It's a day 1 of PreHacks. Day 2 is tomorrow, starting in the afternoon, Central Standard Time. And after that, we'll be seeing you for PreHacks, which we're super excited about. So thanks for coming out, everybody. We really appreciate it.
see you guys tomorrow.
Peace out.